Is Jaron Boost Ennis this generation's Roy Jones Jr.? People have made this comparison because they see a whole bunch of athleticism from Boots and they saw a whole bunch of athleticism from Roy. But I beg to differ. I don't believe that Jaron Boots Ennis fights anything like Roy Jones. And he's not the athlete that Roy was. And also, Jaron Boots Ennis has never tested positive for any banned substances. Roy has. Jaron Boots Ennis has only fought in two weight divisions. We know Roy, he started at 54 and went all the way up to heavyweight. So Roy is a larger man than Boots, taller. They probably got around the same reach. I think even without the PEDs, Roy was a better natural athlete than Boots. It had more one-punch power than Boots. But Roy was out of control. His movements, his fundamentals were really, really bad. Jaron Ennis, he does some things that all good athletes do in the boxing ring where, they break the rules a little bit as far as boxing, pulling their head back and stuff like that. But Jaron, he has a much more fundamental-based game. He has a little shoulder roll in him. He can fight with his hands up, and that's from being raised in the gym and having good pad work. Roy Jones was raised in the gym as well, but Roy's father allowed Roy to kind of freestyle it. And Roy said he learned how to fight by watching roosters on the farm because Roy's a farm country boy out there in Florida. So when you have an unorthodox style and you're a great athlete, that's what gave Roy his advantage over everybody. Nobody has ever seen somebody fight like Roy Jones. I mean, we've never seen people fight like Boots. Boots has a very unique style as well. But Roy's style is truly out of this world, and only he could do that style. We've seen a lot of athletes similar to Boots Ennis, right? Well, we've seen Prince Nassim. We've seen, the Pernell Whitakers, people that use a lot of athleticism. And Pernell is another one who's actually similar to Boots, but of course he has way better defense. But it's fundamental. There's an understanding of what they're doing. Boots understands his distance. He understands, when to use the high guard and stuff like that. Boots actually uses his jab a lot. Roy's jab was extremely fast and powerful, just like Boots. But Roy, a lot of times he wouldn't even use a jab. He'd just bring it out every once in a while. You know what I mean? He brought it out against Vinny Pazienza just to do it. But it's not something that he liked to bring out. Roy would come in with those hooks from his hip and bomb hook shots and stuff like that. Jump in with long right hands and then jump right out. And then on the ropes, it wasn't no shoulder roll, wasn't no head movement. It was just shell up and wait or hold. So that was Roy's game. It was athletic. It wasn't fundamental base. And it was rather sloppy. Boots' game is athletic, but it's polished. It's under control. And Boots is a lot more focused than Roy with diet and stuff like that. Roy was eating fast food burgers, only running like 4 miles and playing basketball. You know what I mean? Because he had been boxing his whole life. So he'd already put in a bunch of work. So by the time he was on the scene, his regimen wasn't as difficult. If you look at Boots' regimen, Boots is doing all type of boxing training, modern day specific training, sports science training. He's doing running 6 miles at least. You know what I mean? Training twice, 2 times, maybe 3 times a day. You can go on YouTube or Google and look up their regimens and you'll see what I'm talking about. So to me, Boots is a polished up, athletic fighter with very good fundamentals. Roy Jones was a super athletic fighter. He was also a PED user. That's facts. That's not me hating or not. You can look that up. Roy Jones was probably the most naturally gifted or one of the most naturally gifted athletes to ever box. And Roy Jones had crazy power in both, had crazy power, could go up and wait with the power. You don't really see that, or we're probably not going to see that from Boots Ennis. But Roy was out of control. Fundamentals horrible. And that's why as he aged, he was no longer effective at the highest level in the boxing ring because his angles were so wide. What do I mean by that? The angles that Roy Jones took, everybody knows a straight punch is going to get there first. Roy would take these extremely wide angles with his footwork and with his punches, whereas though the punch should never have landed. But he was so fast that he could telegraph shots and still hit a guy. Once he slowed down a step, people could see those shots, they can get out of the way. And Roy, his main defense would be pulling back, reflexes. So once he had the reflexes, he didn't know, how to keep his guard up. He didn't know how to slightly dip at the shoulder or roll the shoulder. He didn't know how to parry all these different tricks. All he knew was that athletic style. So I don't see the comparison between these two guys. Like, just because two guys are athletic doesn't mean that they're the same fighter. I think Boots is on a different level than Roy Jones when it comes to fundamentals, and I think Roy is on a different level than Boots when it comes to athleticism. Um, Boots is not this generation's Roy Jones Jr. Boots actually um, is reminiscent to me of Tank, not in style, but in the fact that you have these super athletes, right, or these very athletic guys like Tank and Boots, but they're growing up learning fundamentals from a young age, so they're not relying completely on the athleticism. Why is that? That's because of the Floyd Mayweather era. Floyd Mayweather changed the way a lot of these trainers and a lot of boxers worldwide look at boxing. So back in the day, you would have a guy like a Sugar Ray Leonard. They go off of their natural body rhythms. They hit like 34 or 35 years old, they're done. But now, everybody knows skills pay the bills. So dudes be super athletic like Tank and Boots and still be developing the skill. So if you were to watch Tank or Boots fight at 34, 35 years old, whether they win or lose, they won't get completely embarrassed because they know how to keep their hands up. They know how to move their head. You understand? They know how to roll the shoulder. They know other things as opposed to just boxing off your natural body rhythms and athleticism. That's all Roy knew. That's all a guy like Sugar Ray Leonard knew. And it's not talking about greatness. I'm not saying like Boots and Tank is greater than Roy or Ray Leonard because that's simply not true. I'm just talking about objectively comparing, the fighter's skill set and what they brought to the table. Jaron Boots, Ennis is not this generation's Roy Jones. The two are different. But y'all let me know what y'all think.